Hey, what's going on, guys? Bflattened here with a brand new video today. Today we're going to be just talking about the build video for Slam Cannon Moze. Now this is going to be my own take and variation on a level 72 version of Slam Cannon that was made by Psychotic Wolf back in, Lord, I want to say the level 60 patch. This is a level 72 version, so let's go ahead and go over it, shall we? The interactions, the gear, and also the skills. Let's start with skills, and we will move on over to gear and how the interactions actually work. So fire in the Stag's Den for splash damage and fire damage, and of course we do Stainless Steel Bear with it, because Stainless Steel Bear works with fire in the Stag's Den and boosts it even further. It is Mayhem scale 31 times over as well, so the higher the Mayhem, the better you're going to be getting out of it. For cross promotion, splash damage dealt by Moze has a chance to double in size. Moze and Iron Bear deal increased splash damage. Means of destruction, whenever you do splash damage, you get a chance for ammo and grenades to return to you. Auto Bear, whenever bear or cub is left alive, it'll have a standstill and it will just stick around and deploy as a turret and do some damage from that. Moze's grenades have a chance to store a crit. The criticals will be able to not affect grenade critical hits, but your grenades have a chance to crit 30% of the time. Vampire is to heal. We have 5 in this skill. Is to move down the tree a little bit further, and the healing is actually rather nice from it. Why can I carry all these grenades for only 2 points? It moves down the tree a little bit further, and we get 2 grenades out of it. To the last, I know my head's covering it, but to the last is a ability to throw grenades in Fight for Your Life. And if you threw a grenade before getting second wind, you get a grenade refunded. Short fuse for gun damage, and you have a chance to get a secondary explosion on the target. It's a very, very, very good skill. Purple Tree, I do big surplus for 3 points. This is a Mayhem scaled skill, so whenever your action skill is cooling down, what ends up happening is you do bonus fire damage. Mayhem scaled 31 times over. It's very, very good. Cloud of Lead. Occasionally Moze and Iron Bear's shots will be doing fire damage and won't consume ammo, so every 4 shot will not consume ammo. This is very nice for our Plague Bears. Stoke the Embers. I have 1 point in here, though what you could do is you could put 3 points into here by taking out some points in Blue Tree. If you find that you have your Blue Tree too high, you can actually move some points over into Stoke the Embers to make this 3 out of 3. This will be helpful for all of your fire-related skills like Big Surplus and Fire in the Skag's Den. I put 4 points into Scrappy. You don't really have any leftover points from everything else that is required, so I put 4 points in here. You get 24% weapon damage, and you're always constantly moving anyways, because a big interaction in this build is slamming, so any sort of movement counts for Scrappy to proc. So if you're jumping, if you're moving side to side, if you're slamming, if you're doing anything, Scrappy will be procced. Red Tree, Armored Infantry, you get damage reduction and gun damage. Blot Up Ingenuity, 3 points to move down the tree, you get max shield. Thin Red Line, this will make it so that we can benefit from URAD and also Desperate Measures later down in the tree. Drowning in Brass, you get stacks. Your fire rate is reduced, but your gun damage is increased. Experimental Munitions. Whenever Moze or Iron Bear scores a crit, they deal bonus fire damage. Desperate Measures, as we said earlier, we get gun damage and Iron Bear. Weapon damages are increased depending on how low or their health is. I noticed my mods are fucking with me in the middle of a video by doing shoutouts. Ad base. Phalanx Doctrine is a kill skill. What you end up doing is for every kill that you get a stack of Phalanx Doctrine. Your maximum shield and gun damage are increased per stack, and each stack lasts 30 seconds. It's 5 out of 5 points, and also 5 from our Bloodletter that we have in here. Tenacious Defenses. Whenever Moze's shields is fully depleted, she instantly restores a portion of her shields, and her gun damage is increased for a short time. Normally, nobody uses this skill. Tenacious Defenses is normally used on no Moze builds, because most of the time it's just not useful. It's very useful in this build because we're constantly draining our shield and gaining our shields back with how the interactions work. You'll see what I mean very, very shortly. And that's going to do it for our skill trees. We use Iron Cup with Vanquisher Rocket Pod to try to deplete that as much as possible because we want our cup to be down so that we can benefit from big surplus as much as possible. Into our skills, or into our gear, sorry. I use 3 Plague Bearers of all different elements for depending on what I'm doing or who I'm fighting. They all have URAD because we benefit from URAD on everything. It's going to be using things like Thin Red Line and Desperate Measures. And because it has URAD on it, all that damage that we can benefit off of URAD will be applied for that 100% bonus radiation. Next up, I use the Frozen Snowshoe. The Snowshoe does a cryo area of effect, Cryo Nova. On Shield Break, the next shot deals 100% shield capacity as bonus amp damage. Since we're pumping up our shield so much with Phalanx Doctrine and other related skills, the shield capacity as bonus amp damage is going to be huge. Now, every single time that we do our interaction and slam, the Frozen Snowshoe is going to be proccing. You'll see what I mean right away. The Bloodletter, 5 in Phalanx Doctrine, like I was mentioning. Splash Radius for the Plague Bearer. Heavy weapon damage for the Plague Bearer. COV weapon damage is unfortunately not going to do anything for us here. It is not a perfect, unfortunately, but this is the closest I was actually able to get. Sparkplug Launchpad. Now, this is where going to be where everything is going to be coming together. It comes with AoE, which is going to be interacting with everything else, like the Splash Radius and also the Snowshoe. The Spark Plug is going to be doing it for us. It's going to be protecting us in melee range, and it also does the interactions too. And the Launchpad is a range version of the interactions that we're going to be doing. For how the Launchpad and Spark Plug work in the codes, it actually interacts with the Snowshoe in a way that it shouldn't. Every single time that the Launchpad hits, the Snowshoe is going to be activating its ability to drain the shield and gain the shield, which means that a Cryo Nova is going to be activating. Lastly, I use a Cloning Maddening Tracker. The level on this does not matter. It's just there for healing, and also the Grenade Throw for more damage. It's not needed at all, but the lower the level, the better, because you don't light yourself on fire with Fire in the Skag's Den. And let me show you how this works. So your goal in this build is, of course, slamming as much as possible. You want to slam on the ground, which is going to activate and drop a Spark Plug coil. That coil is going to be super beneficial for the build. And then the launch pad is going to launch out, home in on enemies, hit enemies, and then every single time that it hits an enemy, a cryo wall is going to be surrounding us. You'll see exactly what I mean. Every single time that one of them hits, remember that we get shield capacity for our Plague Bearers, which is 100% bonus amp damage, plus that URAD is going to be applied to it as well. It's insane. Here you go. So every single time a Spark Plug is going to be hitting an enemy, or every single time a launch pad hits an enemy, we get a cryo ice wall around us that's going to be all benefiting from pretty much everything that we have. The splash radius, the AoE, the URAD, all that's going to apply. Now the Plague Bearers are going to be primarily here for boss damage. It's not really needed so much for mobbing. So if you really want to, you can hold on to a Guardian Angel with URAD. And you can just boost all of your rockets that way as well. The distance for it is... the distance for it is going to be beneficial for... the range damage, because if you're at 23.8 meter distance, you're going to be getting a 500% bonus damage to whatever you're doing. It kind of applies like URAD in that sense. Spark Plug is coded as slide damage, precisely, which is what triggers the Snowshoe. It's not known as to why it does that, but it's coded as slide damage. Because it's coded as slide damage, that's what's triggering the Snowshoe. Not a lot of people know that it's coded as such, though.
An Iridian temple. That must be the source of the signal.
Now, if you notice my shield, take a look really closely to my shield here when we do this. Every single time that one of those rockets hits, it's going to be draining the shield, and it's going to be regenning the shield all at the same time. Now, earlier I was saying that Tenacious Defense is a skill that nobody uses ever. Because we're always depleting our shield, and we're always gaining it back, this thing is going to be procced pretty much constantly. Because of which, our shield break is always going to be active every time we shoot our Plague Bearer. And both of those are going to interact together to be hitting really, really hard. How do you even think of this build? This was actually not an original by me. Psychotic Wolf ended up putting this together. He ended up doing all the interactions for pretty much everything in here. He also did the Launchpad version of this build. I know a lot of people do Static Charge, but Psychotic Wolf did Launchpad. He was the one who showed me this one. He last updated it at level 60. I'm doing a level 72 updated version of it. But for reasons unknown to me, Psychotic Wolf is not playing Borderlands 3 at this current moment. Other than that, though, the build is very simple. It's just slams cause ice walls. Ice walls will make it so that you can't really see the screen too well. You're probably going to want to look at your mini-map more often. The Plague Bearers are there just for boss damage. That shield capacity and everything else together is amazing. Even crystals are not really a threat for this as well. This is where the launch pad shines. It's because the launch pad is going to be able to do that range. This is also where I would put on a Guardian Angel as well, because the Guardian Angel will be boosting your damage even further, which will allow for more damage at a longer range. You could freeze the enemies from a long range as well, as that guy was frozen there. That's the other thing. If you guys are on console and you want to try to mimic this build, it's not too console friendly, so be careful of that. As you can probably tell, all the interactions on the screen are absolutely bonkers. Yeah, I should probably clarify that as well. I know I talked about it earlier, but just so you know what actually triggers this interaction here and what makes it spam up so much, you gotta remember that it's every time the launch pad hits and every time the coil of the static charge is going to be shocking an enemy. So if you're up close and personal with the enemy, that's fine. That will all trigger the interaction. But if your launch pad is hitting an enemy, it's also going to trigger every single time. If both happen, it triggers. That was some launch pad there, that's why it triggered again. Now, one thing that I'm not doing very often here, and I should be doing more, is throwing grenade. You should be throwing your grenade fairly often because you can heal your shield off of it. There are going to be times where you're going to be caught out by enemies, and your shield will not be either full nor will it be empty. It'll be kind of caught in between. You want to make sure to throw your CMTs in order to heal, because we have a Bloodletter equipped, so it's going to be healing our shields. We dump 5 points into there because we want to be able to heal our shields to max as soon as we possibly can. And the reason why it works better on a level 1 or early level as possible is because the way that the CMT works is it works off the amount of hits, not the amount of damage that it does. So since we're throwing approximately 20 grenades with one throw, it'll be 20 grenades that will all going to be individually hitting to heal. It's not the amount of damage. The higher the level that it is, the more risk that you are to proc fire the skags down on yourself, which is mayhem scaled, which will pretty much down you instantly. So you want to try to get it as low as possible. There are methods on how to do this. You can do it with a friend, split screen, and make sure that instant loot is on, so they get their own version of it at level 1. If you are looking for a level 1 CMT, I do have other builds on my YouTube channel that also have level 1 CMTs. I can link them in the description for you if you would like to download them and use them on this build. Feel free to look at those as well. But it is possible to gain on any platform. Other than that, I think that's about everything that I can show off on this build. It's fairly straightforward once you get all the knowledge of the interactions and what everything does and the way that it's coded to work. After that, it's all just slam, blind your screen, shoot your plague bearer, hit your bosses, hit your enemies, and that's pretty much all there is to it. I think that's all from me. Thank you all so much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. My name is Bflattened. I'm signing on out of here. Take care all. Laters.